listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hey everyone, I am Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach and I specialize in helping people with situations related to cheating or affairs or adultery or stepping outside of the boundaries of your relationship agreements. I am the person you can talk to about all the things related to infidelity, all the lying, all the deception, all of the sneaking around, all of the great sex with someone you aren't supposed to be having sex with, or the deep love you feel for someone who you aren't supposed to be in love with. All the excitement, all of the stress and the guilt. I'm here for all of it. Part of what I do is give people a safe place to tell the uncensored version of their story. I'm here to give you the opportunity to be fully honest without fear of being shamed or judged. And the other part of what I do is help you deal with your feelings in an intentional way, clarify what you want, and make decisions about what you're going to do. I offer confidential coaching via Zoom so we can work together no matter where you're located. And if you'd like to schedule an introductory coaching session with me, you can do that through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. All right. Today we are going to talk about putting off relationship decisions or putting off ending a relationship during the holidays, or even thinking about making a relationship decision or putting off or ending a relationship during the holidays. It is that time of year again when people who are cheating on their partners or are dealing with some other challenging relationship dynamics tell me earnestly that they can't possibly do anything about their relationship situation until after the holidays. Maybe for the last few months prior to mid-November, they were working up to making a decision about talking to their spouse about divorce, or perhaps considering telling their spouse that they want a divorce, or even considering moving out. Or maybe they were considering breaking up with their affair partner. Whatever the specific decision or set of considerations looks like for a lot of people, once the holidays get underway, it starts to seem like a great idea to not do anything about their relationship situation, or maybe not even think about what they want to do about their relationship situation until the holidays are over. And of course, I get it. As I've discussed in recent episodes of this podcast, the holidays are a super meaningful time for a lot of people. Maybe they're really meaningful for us, or maybe people we care about attach a lot of meaning to them. And with all of that meaning can come a lot of stuff, a lot of rituals to engage in, a lot of things to do. Holiday dinners, parties, religious services, gift giving, decorating, who knows what else. And depending on what all of that entails for you, all of that stuff can seem really overwhelming on its own. And thus, it can leave us feeling like we don't have the bandwidth to deal with any of our relationship challenges. Or the holidays can seem like a really bad time of year to end a relationship, or to break up with someone, or to start talking about divorce. And, I see this play out every year. I'm seeing it play out for some folks right now, and this may be happening for you right now. And if this is happening in your life and you haven't recognized it yet, here's what it could look like in practice. Here's what it sometimes looks like in practice. So to echo what I said earlier, sometimes folks will have been contemplating leaving their marriage for months, or maybe more than months, and they're pretty sure that that's what they want to do. And they're working up to having conversations with their spouse about this. And then Thanksgiving approaches in the United States anyway. And they start to think about all of the past holidays they've spent with their spouse and their family, and how different it would be to spend the holidays without them. And if there are kids in the picture, they wonder about what the family dynamic would be on holidays in the future. And they start to get nostalgic about the past, and also scared about the future. And they start to think that maybe they don't really know what they want after all. And that idea proves overwhelming. So they just kind of freeze in their tracks. And then all of the activities and traditions of the holidays take on a momentum of their own, and they get all swept up in all of that. And they stop actively considering what they want to do about their relationship stuff. And they certainly don't take any action on any of their relationship stuff. Or sometimes people who are married and having affairs tell me that they have to, slow down their affair during the holidays and put on a good show of playing house with their families. And, often like people who say this are very conflicted about their marriage, or are actually pretty sure that they want to leave their marriage and pretty sure that they would prefer to be spending time with their affair partner during the holidays instead of with their spouse and family. But all the same, they often think that they must keep up appearances and do all of the normal things during the holidays to ensure that everyone, whoever everyone is, has a great time. And so sometimes this means that they put their relationship with their affair partner on ice, or they take a break from considering their relationship with their affair partner as a viable option. And also, what often happens is they take a break from being honest with themselves about what they really want to do about their situation, because it just seems so much easier to default to all of the holiday traditions associated with their marriage and their family. So these are only two examples of stuff that happens during the holidays, of course. But the point for a lot of people is that the holidays seem like an absolutely fantastic reason to put off making relationship decisions. And let me be really clear about something that is a very important point for today. You might decide that the holidays are, in fact, a great reason for you to put off making relationship decisions, or to put off taking action on decisions you've made, like, telling your spouse you want a divorce, or breaking up with your affair partner, or moving out of your home, or whatever. But there's a difference between consciously deciding that you're not going to deal with any of this stuff until after the holidays are over for reasons that you really like, and using the holidays as an excuse to put off thinking about things you'd rather not think about, or to put off doing things that you're apprehensive about doing. And to that point, one of the things that's so fascinating to me is that when people tell me that they can't possibly do anything about their relationship situation until after the holidays, folks will give me different dates for when it will be possible for them to resume consideration of what they want to do about their relationship, or take any action towards changing their relationship or relationships. Some people are like, yeah, January 2nd, no problem. I'll be ready then. All systems will be go. Some people tell me that they're sure it will be okay for them to talk to their spouse or do whatever it is they want to do on or after January 15th. And then other people tell me that they really have to wait it out all throughout January, so it won't seem like they were just waiting for the holidays to be over before moving out, or for asking their spouse for a divorce, or even thinking about doing those things. And let me be clear, I am not criticizing anyone for thinking any of these kinds of things, or for having any of these possible timelines in mind. But all of this points to the need for you to ask yourself two questions if you have been telling yourself that you're just going to wait until the holidays are over to deal with your relationship stuff. Question number one: when exactly are the holidays over? When specifically will it be okay for you to do whatever it is you're putting off doing, or for you to think about whatever it is you're trying not to think about? What's the actual date? Is it January 2nd? Is it January 15th? Is it January 31st? Or when? And question number two is, what exactly are you trying to achieve or ensure by not doing anything about your relationship stuff during the holidays? Ask yourself that question and answer yourself as specifically as you can. Now, here are a few examples of the kinds of answers to that last question, that second question, that I hear pretty regularly. Sometimes people will tell me that they have to keep up appearances during the holidays so that everyone else has a good time. And then again, there's a question to be asked about who exactly everyone includes, right? But when people say this, in response, I usually ask, is it really within your power to ensure that everyone or anyone has a good time? And is it your job to compromise your own truths for the sake of other people's comfort? And when I ask these questions, people will often say, well, intellectually, I understand that I can't control whether or not other people have a good time, but I've always believed that it's my responsibility to do everything perfectly so that other people are more likely to be happy. And, often when people tell me this, they tell me all these things about their past and how they were trained to be a people pleaser and the history of their people pleasing tendencies and what it means to them now to be a people pleaser and why they can't change and so on and so on and so on. And on the one hand, I get it. Of course, I get it. So many of us are taught implicitly and explicitly that it is our job to do what other people want us to do, that it is our job to make other people happy. And so, we think that we really do have to do the things that other people want us to do. And all of these notions are prevalent out there in the cultural fog, right? So if we've unconsciously decided to agree that all of this is true, that we do have to do everything perfectly so that other people will be happy, it's not an indication that there's anything wrong with you. And it's also important to point out that if you want to continue prioritizing attempting to please other people, if you want to make a conscious decision that you're going to do that, you can. Plenty of people do this forever and ever. But usually the problem isn't that we don't really want to continue attempting to please other people or to manage other people's experiences by compromising ourselves. The problem is often that we just don't know how to stop. That's the bad news. But the good news is that it is totally possible to learn how to stop people pleasing. And that is something I help my clients with all the time. But for now, the point that I really want to make clear is that if you're in the habit of trying to please people, this is probably a tendency that you carry into your romantic relationship or your romantic relationships. And it's a tendency that probably isn't going to magically stop when the holidays are over. This is something that you may have to dedicate yourself to working on if you want to change. You might think that if you just get through the holidays, it will be easier to do things like break up with your spouse because there won't be as many people that you have to please, or the specific burdens of the holiday expectations won't be hanging over you. But I guarantee you that if you're in the habit of people pleasing, you will always be able to come up with reasons why you can't do what you want to do because you think it will upset other people. Another thing that people sometimes tell me is that it will be easier to deal with their relationship stuff after the holidays. My first question in response to that is, what do you mean by easier? And people have all kinds of answers to that question, but the answers are largely beside the point. And that's because the objective facts of our circumstances do not determine whether something is easy or not. It's our thinking that determines whether something is easy or not. Easy and hard are ideas we have. There are no objective criteria for easy and hard, but our thoughts about whether something is easy or hard matter a lot. Just for instance, when we think doing something is going to be easy, the actions we take will be very different than the actions we take if we think doing that thing will be hard. And what this sometimes translates into is we're a lot more likely to avoid trying to do something if we think it's going to be hard than we are if we think it's going to be easy, or at least possible or doable. What we often mean when we say that something will be easier later is that it will be less uncomfortable later. It will hurt less later. It will be less scary later. It will seem less foreign or less less unfamiliar later. But rarely does that work out to be the case. That's the bad news, sort of. But the good news is that instead of waiting for something to get easier, we can intentionally decide what we're going to believe is true about whatever the thing is. And that doesn't mean that we have to convince ourselves that something we think is going to be hard or painful will actually be easy or painless. It's not the point at all. We're not trying to brainwash ourselves into believing things that we don't even remotely believe to be true. The point is to explore what we mean by easy or hard. Do we think, for example, that ending our marriage will be hard because everyone we know who's gotten divorced has said they had a terrible experience of getting divorced? Or, to continue with the divorce example, do we think that getting divorced will be hard because of all of the bureaucratic stuff that will be part of the process? Do we think that getting divorced will be painful because we might be lonely after the divorce is finalized? When we get clear on exactly what we're thinking, we have a whole lot more power to work with our situation. When we identify our thoughts, we may find that some of our beliefs about what will be hard or painful aren't quite as well founded as we thought they were. And we can also explore reasons why it might be worth it to do something, even if it's hard or painful or otherwise uncomfortable. When we get our mindset in order, that will have an impact on our feelings. So we may end up feeling less discomfort than we're anticipating that we might. And in addition to that, we can learn how to deal with our feelings in such a way that discomfort doesn't have to be a showstopper. Feeling uncomfortable or even anticipating feeling uncomfortable often prevents us from doing the things we want to do, but it doesn't have to. When we learn how to intentionally manage our mindset and consciously deal with our feelings, our whole understanding of easy and hard and painful and not painful can change completely. And this is the kind of work that coaching is uniquely beneficial for. Most of us do not know how to manage our mindset and work with our feelings. And we need to deliberately learn how to do those things. And we can deliberately learn how to do these things if we so choose, right? This is part of what I help the folks I work with do. Okay, all of that said, I want to be really clear that none of this is to say that you can't or shouldn't wait until after the holidays to deal with your relationship stuff. Of course, you can wait until after the holidays. But if you're postponing or avoiding your relationship stuff with the expectation that it will be easier after the holidays, you may find that that does not end up being the case. Another thing that some people tell me is that it will be better for their spouse or better for their family to wait until after the holidays to start conversations about divorce or to initiate major changes in a relationship. And this is also true for folks who are considering breaking things off with an affair partner. Sometimes people decide that, I don't really want to be in this affair anymore, but the relationship is really deep and involved and everybody's been really invested in it for a while. And breaking that relationship off during the holidays may seem just as awful or just as hard or just as unpleasant as ending a relationship with a spouse during the holiday season. But this whole reason, no matter who it's applied to, is so seductive because it sounds so noble. It sounds like we're putting other people's needs before our own, or being considerate of others, or being kind, or something along those lines. And most of us take it for granted that it is fundamentally better to put other people's needs before our own. But there are a few interesting things to explore here. For one thing, do we ever really know what's best for another person? Really? Do we ever truly know what another person needs? I would make the argument that we do not. Aside from basic things like food and water and shelter, I don't know that we can ever say for sure what another person wants or needs. Thoroughly exploring this line of thinking would take a whole podcast episode in and of itself. But without doing that, what I want to suggest is that we get something from thinking that we know what's best for other people. When we think we know what's best for someone else, we get, at the very minimum, a form of certainty about what we should do or what we shouldn't do. And a lot of us find a tremendous amount of emotional security and certainty. But wanting certainty for ourselves is totally different from knowing what's best for someone else. That's their business. We may also want to ask ourselves why we think it's so much better to put other people's needs ahead of our own. Sometimes when I ask people to consider that, they're kind of shocked and they'll say things like, well, it's bad to be selfish. And I know that is a really common idea out there. Believe me, I am fully aware of that. But most of us have not really explored what it actually might mean to be selfish. And B, many people use the notion that it's better to put other people's needs ahead of their own as a reason to avoid being honest with themselves about what they truly want, and as a reason to avoid being honest with others about what they truly want. And it's really important to ask ourselves whether or not this benefits anyone in the end. So sometimes people will tell me things like, well, I can't leave my spouse during the holidays because they would be crushed and I would ruin the holidays for them forever. Now, first of all, we don't know for sure that this will happen. We just can't. These are possible future occurrences, for one thing. And for another thing, we can never know for sure how another person will experience anything. And moreover, it isn't our job or our business to try and figure it out. That's the other person's business. And closely related to that point, would it truly be better for our spouse if we were to stay in a relationship with them when we didn't want to be in a relationship with them? And, to that point, people will often say to me, well, I can at least wait until after the holidays. Okay, that's a fair choice. But there is the possibility that, if you wait until after the holidays, your spouse will say to you, why didn't you tell me this sooner? You should have been honest with me like right away as soon as you knew how you felt. And it's not our job to anticipate that either necessarily. But the point is that doing things that we think are going to be better for other people aren't necessarily going to work out the way that we think they're going to. But still, it is so seductive to believe that we shouldn't do certain things because of how we'll make other people feel if we do them. And if this is your current mindset, if you currently believe that you can't do certain things during the holidays because of how it will make other people feel, that's okay. You're in good company. These are common beliefs. I don't want you to beat yourself up for this, but I do want you to ask yourself what you get out of believing that you have to do these things. And one of the things you are most likely getting out of thinking this way is a reprieve from your own discomfort and a justification for actions or inactions that seem really valid and really noble. So I'll say that might have sounded like kind of abstract. What I mean by that is it can seem really noble to not talk about divorce during the holidays or to not break up with your affair partner during the holidays because you think that's better for the other person. But what you may actually be getting out of that is not having to deal with your own discomfort, the feelings that you will feel if you have the conversation with them. And, of course, this kind of thing, this kind of thinking can occur at any time of year, holidays or no holidays. The holidays often provide extra justification for why we can't do certain things or why we shouldn't do certain things. But the holidays are just the icing on the cake. This kind of stuff happens all the time. So those are not the only reasons people give me for why they can't do anything about their relationship stuff during the holidays. But those are some pretty common things that come up. And the themes encompassed in those examples are really common, even more common than the specifics that I shared. So given everything I've said thus far, here is what I want you to ask yourself if you have effectively decided not to do anything about your relationship stuff until after the holidays, or if you've decided to not even think much about your relationship stuff until after the holidays. Are you doing this because you have come to the conclusion that it's truly better to wait until after the holidays for reasons that you like? Or are you putting off dealing with your relationship stuff because you're trying to postpone dealing with some life business that has the potential to be uncomfortable? The point of answering this question is not to bust yourself. The point of answering this question is to give yourself the gift of a little more clarity. And whatever your answer is, here's the good news and the bad news. If you totally shove your relationship stuff to the side until after the holidays are over, it will still be there for you after the holidays. You will still have the opportunity to deal with all of it after January 2nd or January 15th or January 31st. And so, on the one hand, there is no rush. Whatever situation you need to deal with is very unlikely to magically resolve itself if you sit on it for another however many weeks, right? Now, that brings me to a really important point. A lot of people consider the holidays a genuinely bad time to talk about ending a relationship, or a genuinely bad time to make changes associated with the end of a relationship, like, say, moving out, or to make an announcement to your partner that might surprise them, like telling them you've been involved with someone else. And here's the thing, if you don't want to do this during the holidays, you don't have to. If you firmly believe that the holidays are a bad time for any of this stuff, like, you can keep that belief. But here's the thing. What I see a lot of people doing is getting through the holidays and then coming up with another reason why they can't do anything about their situation. Maybe it's a family trip, or maybe it's their wedding anniversary, or maybe the in-laws are having like a major milestone wedding anniversary. Or maybe somebody's having a medical procedure, or maybe it's a birthday, or maybe the house is being renovated, or whatever. And this is how life is, right? It's just one damn thing after another. There's always something. And I will tell you that the always something excuse keeps some people in marriages they aren't happy in for years, which sometimes turn into decades. And then they come to me and they tell me that it will be finally easier for them to make the changes they want to make once their youngest kid goes off to college. Then, and only then, it will finally be possible for them to leave their marriage or whatever it is they want to do but think they can't. And, sometimes people tell me this and their youngest kid is going to college in like 6 months. But sometimes people tell me this and their youngest kid is going to be going to college in like 10 years. And then on top of that, there are also people who come to me and say, if I'd only gotten divorced when my youngest kid left for college, that would have been the easier time for me to leave my marriage. So beware of the notion that something that seems hard now will seem easier in the future. Beware of the idea that there will come a time in life when there's absolutely nothing going on that might make for a bad time to end a marriage or disclose an affair or break up with an affair partner or move out or make whatever changes in your relationship that you're holding off on making. If you're waiting for the right time or the perfect time or the ideal time, you may end up letting a lot of time go by. And that isn't necessarily bad. I'm not saying all of this to try and scare you into taking action or to suggest that there's any urgency in doing whatever it is that you want to do. That's not the point at all. The point is that this is your life and you're the one in charge of how you live it. And so if you want something and doing something that you think is going to be hard stands in the way of you having that, instead of trying to find a perfect time to do the difficult thing, or instead of waiting for a difficult thing to become easier, why not invest in becoming someone who can do difficult things? Instead of waiting for something to magically become easier, why not invest in developing your capacity to deal with challenges? Why not invest in becoming someone who can face their fears instead of letting fear dictate your decisions? The great news is that whenever you're ready to do these things, whenever you decide that you're ready to invest in building your capacity to do the things you're afraid to do, I'm here to help you. I can help you build your capacity to make the scary changes that you really want to make and figure out the right time for you to do it, even if there never is a perfect time. So if you're ready to change and you want my help in making changes, let's work together. Schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. I look forward to speaking with you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've had a great week, and I hope you have a great week ahead. If you are listening from the United States, we are pretty much in the thick of the holidays by the time you'll be listening to this. I hope you are both enjoying and surviving the holidays. Good luck. And of course, if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, I hope you'll head on over to iTunes to rate and review the show. Until next time, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.